Hey folks, welcome to another episode of Cutter One. I am your host, Jay Just Jay, resident troublemaker and resident culture warrior. I hope you are all doing well. It is Tuesday. We are finally moving on to the next phase of the week. And like I said, we'll get through it and get to the weekend soon enough. I don't want to linger too long on the subject. I know some of you don't like it when I linger too long on a particular subject. So let's get right into it. With this story, I'm not sure. I may end up agreeing with it just based on the title. I may not, but we'll see. Let's check it out. And it is coming to us from the good folks over at ScreenRant.com, and it is from Angel Shaw, who we're familiar with now. So it's going to be hit or miss. It says, Finrod's The Rings of Power speech makes no sense in the Lord of the Rings lore. Okay, I might end up agreeing with this. Finrod advised Galadriel that she must sometimes touch the darkness to know right from wrong in Rings of Power, but that doesn't fit his Lord of the Rings lore. In the Lord of the Rings, I'm sorry about that. Let me just get this out of here. Okay, there we go. Let me adjust accordingly. Okay. In The Lord of the Rings of Power, Season 1, Galadriel remembered some wise words from her brother Finrod, but his sentiments did not align with either his history nor Lord of the Rings lore. Finrod was widely known to be a good and just warrior, and after his death, elves regarded him as a hero. However, Finrod's conversation with the young Galadriel in Valinor made it seem like he had a dark history no one knew about. Amazon's The Rings of Pewter has been criticized for its changes to Tolkien canon, but Finrod's speech about darkness hints that this will only continue in The Rings of Pewter Season 2. Okay. J.R.R. Tolkien spoke of Galadriel's brother Finrod in several of his written works, such as The Silmarillion and Beren and Luthien. Finrod's adventures with Beren were legendary, and his ultimate sacrifice was the only reason his friend could retrieve one of the Silmarils stolen by Morgoth. Finrod did not survive, but since he was so good, he was brought back to life by the Valar and returned to Valinor. Of course, none of this seems to be true in the Rings of Pewter, where Finrod was killed while trying to get revenge on Sauron, but that is not all the Prime Video TV show changed about him. Finrod's advice to Galadriel in Rings of Pewter contradicts Lord of the Rings lore. As well as changing Finrod's death, The Rings of Pewter seems to have made significant alterations to the character's personality. This was easy enough since there was not a great deal about Finrod's personality in Tolkien's work to set him apart from the other elves. Nevertheless, one thing that was always a constant of Tolkien's Finrod was his morality. This was not the case in The Rings of Pewter, where Finrod's comments to Galadriel about needing to, quote, touch the darkness, unquote, to tell the difference between right and wrong implied some nefarious decisions in the elf's past. Finrod's feelings about darkness were meant to set up Galadriel's arc, since a lot of the Rings of Pewter Season 1 seem to be playing off the character's one-ring temptation moment from The Lord of the Rings. The idea here is that Galadriel's arc is defined by her desire for power and leadership. This doesn't entirely divert from Tolkien's canon, but the idea that Galadriel's own darkness started with Finrod is a little out of left field. This is especially true because, as children in Valinor, Galadriel and Finrod should have had nearly no opportunity to become acquainted with, quote, darkness. The Rings of Power Season 1 hints at more changes for Finrod's character. The fact that the key points of Finrod's advice were kept a secret from audiences until near the end of Rings of Pewter Season 1 implies that Galadriel and viewers alike still have a lot to learn about the character. It could be that Finrod himself had been tempted or tricked by Morgoth or Sauron in the past, which is why he was so dedicated to taking the Dark Lord down. This would be an interesting discovery for Galadriel, and one that would shatter her perception of Finrod. Galadriel idolized her brother, and learning that Sauron once swayed him could make it even harder for Galadriel to turn down the villain's offer of power. This seems to be a direction the Rings of Pewter could take. Okay, I'm sorry, that's just really annoying the crap out of me. Go away. Okay. This seems to be the direction Rings of Pewter could take, but risks being a significant disappointment for Lord of the Rings fans. Changes are often necessary for a book to screen adaptation, not so much. And this is especially true for Tales from the Silmarillion, where a lot of character development details are left out. Still, changes to a character's morality can be difficult to swallow, especially such a fundamentally good character. It would be better if Finrod's advice to Galadriel holds no further significance in this story. Given the number of changes the Rings of Pewter has made already, however, this is far from guaranteed. And this is coming from Angel Shaw. All right, on the face of it, I'll agree with that. I'll agree with the overall general take. I don't agree with some of the finer details that Angel makes in this article. One of those being the whole thing about, that sort of change is necessary when adapting from a book to another form of another medium, be it television or film. Not fundamental character changes. And what I mean by fundamental character changes is, I mean, like they said, character's personality. A character's personality does not need to be changed. Okay, if the character was a good character in the book, then the character's personality should remain the same and they will be a good character in the movie or the TV show. If you fundamentally are altering a character's morality, then you are changing the character. And at that point, it becomes a question of, well, why not just create a new character, right? Why are you actively trying to change an existing one, right? So in that regards, I would disagree with that argument. However, the overall statement that Angel is making here, in that Finrod's, you have to know the darkness, you have to touch the darkness to know the light. I would agree with that. I think within the confines of Tolkien's lore, within the confines of the Middle Earth universe, the show doing that line in the show for the character, for Finrod on the show makes absolutely no sense. And it's just, it's fucking stupid, to be honest with you. There's no other way of saying it. So I would agree that it makes no sense in Tolkien's lore, having Finrod sort of have this potential for a backstory. Now, they mentioned the nightmare scenario in that in season 2 we see additional flashbacks, and you come to find out somehow that Finrod had almost been swayed by Sauron. I think would be redonkulous. That would just at that point I'd be in fear that I'd end up throwing something at my television, to be honest with you, if they were to do something like that. But I mean, I wouldn't put it past them with this show, but that's how infuriating that would be. But yeah, so I mean, overall, I find myself agreeing with 90% of what Angel Shaw is saying in this article, in that having that potential for Finrod to have had a dark side, goes against Tolkien's lore, goes against everything he wrote, and it shouldn't have been done. It's simple as that. It should not have been done. But again, one of the things we can learn from the Rings of Pewter is, especially for anybody who's a creative out there in the space, right? This is how you don't adapt beloved stories. Okay, let Amazon's billion-dollar fiasco be the lesson, right? This is how you do not adapt beloved stories, beloved characters, right? You don't wholeheartedly discard the lore, right? And we're seeing this left and right, with The Witcher and how it came out that, the writers for The Witcher actively disliked the source material, right? Which meant that it was doomed to fail, and trust me, it's going to fail, right? Season 3 might be carried on the back of the fact that it's Henry Cavill's last season as Geralt. But that would be, even that's a maybe, because even I'm like, I may not watch it, knowing that even if it's his last season. I've just been so disappointed with the show that I may not follow along with it. But I guarantee you, season 4, when they bring in the other brother, Chris Hemsworth's brother, I think it is, that's going to be taking over the role of Geralt. At that point, that show just dies. It just withers on the vine. There's no getting around it. And that's because they had no respect for the source material and they did not care, right? And you sort of see little hints of that with the Rings of Pewter when they make these fundamental changes to characters that aren't necessary for anything, right? It's necessary for them to tell their fan fiction story that the show ultimately is, but it's not a you could have achieved the same goal without thoroughly fucking over the lore, to put it bluntly. And so it wasn't necessary. So I agree with Angel Shaw on this one that Finrod's Rings of Pewter speech makes no fucking sense in regards to Tolkien lore. But that's just me. Let me know what you guys and gals think down in the comment section below. Do you think it was a necessary change? Do you think it was a good change? Do you think, it's just another case of, folks, this is how you don't adapt beloved material, right? Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Remember, if you like the video, then like the video. If you want to share the video, by all means do so. It gets it out there and gets more eyes on it, and it gets it seen and helps with the YouTube algorithm. And as always, if you have not subscribed, consider hitting the subscribe button and turning that red subscribe button gray and joining the army of beautiful badasses because, why not? Okay, and if you are a returning subscriber, as always, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. You guys and gals are the best and make it all worthwhile. All right, folks, that's going to do it for this one, but there will be more. All right, guys, so go out and enjoy your Tuesday. I will talk to you in the next one. As always, be good, be safe, be awesome, but more importantly, stay more dorkish. Peace.